A special thank you to each of our subscribers who make this channel possible. Here's today's story. New York, workers across the nation are expressing anger and confusion as the Trump administration embarks on a sweeping effort to reduce the federal workforce, ordering agencies to lay off probationary employees who have not yet qualified for civil service protections. While the administration's focus has largely been on disrupting the bureaucratic landscape in Washington, the ramifications of these layoffs are being felt far and wide, affecting federal employees from Michigan to Florida. As layoff notices began rolling out agency by agency, many federal workers were left in disbelief, abruptly informed that their services were no longer needed. In a striking indication of the chaotic nature of the firings, some individuals who received layoff notices had previously accepted an offer for deferred resignation, under which they were promised payment until the end of September in exchange for their voluntary departure. This has raised serious concerns about the integrity of the buyout agreements, and whether others who signed similar deals would also find themselves unexpectedly dismissed. On Friday evening, the Office of Personnel Management, OPM, which acts as the Human Resources Department for the federal government, acknowledged that some employees may have received termination notices in error and assured that the buyout agreements would be honored. "This has been slash and burn," remarked Nicholas Detter, a natural resource specialist from Kansas, who learned of his termination via email late Thursday night. Detter emphasized the lack of consideration for the employees and the communities they serve, stating, "None of this has been done thoughtfully or carefully." The White House and OPM have refrained from disclosing the exact number of probationary workers dismissed thus far. According to government data from OPM, approximately 220,000 workers had less than a year on the job as of March 2024. Agencies have been given a tight deadline to issue layoff notices, with reports indicating that notices must be sent out by 8 p.m. Tuesday. The move to lay off probationary employees is part of the administration's broader initiative to shrink the federal workforce, led by billionaire Elon Musk and his newly appointed Department of Government Efficiency. Following an executive order issued by Trump, agency leaders have been instructed to prepare for large-scale reductions after an earlier voluntary buyout program attracted only 75,000 participants. The layoffs commenced with the Department of Veterans Affairs, which announced the termination of over 1,000 employees, many of whom had served for less than 2 years. This included researchers working on vital projects related to cancer treatment and opioid addiction, as highlighted by U.S. Senator Patty Murray. The Education Department also saw dozens of layoffs, impacting special education specialists and student aid officials, according to a union representing agency workers. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, faced significant cuts as well, with nearly 1,300 probationary employees, roughly 10% of the agency's total workforce, being forced out. The decision was communicated to CDC leadership on Friday morning, according to a federal official who requested anonymity. Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins commented that her agency welcomed Musk's DOGE team and indicated that layoffs would be forthcoming, stating, "Clearly, it's a new day." Andrew Lennox, a 10-year Marine veteran and administrative officer at the Veterans Affairs Medical Center in Ann Arbor, Michigan, expressed his dismay after receiving an unexpected termination email. "In order to help veterans, you just fired a veteran," said Lennox, who had been dedicated to serving the veteran community. He lamented the abruptness of the decision, stating, "This is my family, and I would like to do this forever." Similarly, David Rice, a disabled Army paratrooper working at the Department of Energy, was shocked to receive a termination notice just before a scheduled meeting. Rice, who had recently purchased a home, expressed frustration with the administration's approach, saying, "It's just been chaos." Many of those affected had previously accepted buyout agreements that were meant to protect them from layoffs. Detter, who had been working for the Agriculture Department, felt disrespected after being laid off despite positive evaluations. He described the situation as feeling like a pawn in a larger battle being waged by Musk to reduce government size. The National Treasury Employees Union, alongside other labor unions, has filed a lawsuit challenging what they deem unlawful terminations, arguing that the dismissal of trained probationary employees will severely impact agency missions and operations. NTU President Doreen Greenwald warned that many federal agencies are already understaffed due to years of budget cuts that have hindered their ability to replace retiring employees. On Friday, The advocacy group Democracy Forward filed a complaint with the Office of Special Counsel, urging an investigation into the mass firings and requesting that they be halted during the inquiry. Labor activists and government workers rallied outside the Hubert H. Humphrey Building in Washington, protesting the cuts and expressing their fears about the future. "They're picking us off one by one," said one federal contractor, highlighting the anxiety among workers who have not yet lost their jobs. The layoffs, however, are unlikely to yield substantial savings in the federal deficit. The government spends approximately $270 billion annually on civilian federal worker compensation, with a significant portion allocated to the Departments of Defense, Homeland Security, and Veterans Affairs. Even if the government were to eliminate all civilian workers, it would still face a deficit exceeding $1 trillion. Critics warn that Trump's mass layoffs could negatively impact economic data, potentially leading to a slowdown in hiring or even job losses as early as the upcoming monthly jobs reports. Martha Gimbel, executive director of the Budget Lab at Yale University, noted that job growth could turn negative as a result of the ongoing upheaval in the federal government. Those who have lost their jobs are acutely aware of the consequences of these cuts, with Rice emphasizing the meaningful work they were doing. "We're just out here trying to do something that we actually believe in, that matters," he said, reflecting on the impact of their efforts to serve the public. That's all for this story. We upload videos every day covering many different subjects, so hit that subscribe button to stay informed. Thanks for watching.